This is a really rare event. If you look at what we know so far, there have been 6 out of the 6.85 million doses, which is less than 1 in a million. So remember, this is something that we always, out of an abundance of caution, as Jeff said, to give us a time to take a good look at it and see if we can get further information.
Here's the problem, friends. We have been unable to have real discussion, have real debate over any aspect of COVID policy for the last year. Big tech has decided that there is an accepted narrative, and that is it. You can't ask questions, you can't have different opinions, and I'm talking about on policies. They pretend that judgment and fact are the same when they are not. They've been doing this with masks, with lockdowns, with school closures, with everything. There is the Fauciite consensus, and then there's anything outside of it which must be suppressed and shut down. This creates a lack of public trust in these institutions, in the decision makers here about our public health, and that makes a situation like this even more complicated. On top of that, because of all the panic porn in the media, because of what we have seen from people like Dr. Fauci, who always take a very negative and foreboding tone when talking about anything having to do with COVID, and that will see even the most minute possibility as justification for more restrictions, or mitigation, as Fauci calls them. People now say, well, if there's any chance, I have to take some action against it. If there's any chance we have to go through tremendous inconvenience, perhaps even additional risk, to avoid that possibility. As a society, because of COVID, many people now, I'm talking about millions, maybe even half the country at this point, have almost no capacity to reasonably balance risk to health in their own mind. This is why you have people, for example, who have had the disease, COVID, already, and who are vaccinated, and who are still insisting on double masking themselves and even their young children because they have to guard against the what? 1 in 100,000 chance that they would both get and transmit the disease and then give it to their children. The disease already has a 99% plus survival rate per infection. On top of that, we have vaccines like the Pfizer vaccine that's believed to be over 95% effective. When you add those two things together, if you are not willing to go back to normal life because it's not safe, nothing is safe. And that then brings me to where we are here. Today, the FDA and CDC, this was in an FDA tweet, issued a statement regarding the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. We're recommending a pause in the use of this vaccine out of an abundance of caution. This is madness. We all can do the numbers. The math is actually quite straightforward here. 6 cases of blood clots out of almost 7 million shots. That's better than 1 in a million odds for you. If you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you're not going to have a blood clot. If you are going to avoid situations where your chance of injury or death is 1 in a million, you're not going to leave your house. But you see, we've been masking for a year. We've been on lockdown. We've been going through all the pandemic theater. We've been masking up between bites. We've been told to make sure that we limit our time with loved ones and that we have to wear masks outside. You can't go to a public park and get fresh air. They shut down the parks. They shut down the beaches. All this madness because of the minute possibility that maybe somebody would get infected in one of these places. I'm not talking about the big congregate settings indoors where super spreader events are possible. I'm talking about all these other things that they've been doing based on the premise that anything that can be done to mitigate the risk of COVID-19 is inherently justified, no matter how small the percentages are. And you see this with their desire to continue to control all of us, because now you'd think that we have vaccines, people that get the vaccine should be good, they should be clear, but they say, oh no, it's still theoretically possible that you could get and give the virus to somebody else. So even if a vaccinated person is willing to take the risk of living their own lives, you can't have your freedom back because there's a tiny chance that you as a vaccinated person will get and give it to somebody else. How small? We know it's less than 1%. Is it 1 in a million? And yet that's the official CDC guidance. They don't care about what they've done here to people's psychology, but they're going to have to. They've made it impossible for most people to have reasonable, rational assessments of what they can do in their own lives because big medicine brother has come over and decided that he's going to decide for all of us, in this case Dr. Fauci, exactly what has to happen and what's acceptable.